Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, dig into them, and give you that shortcut to really understanding complex topics.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into something pretty profound from Buddhist traditions, Mahamudra. You might heard the term, maybe, but what does it actually mean? Our goal here is to, cut through some of the layers, explore what Mahamudra really is, why it's seen as so beneficial, and how it differs from other practices. You've brought some fascinating texts for us to look at.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is how Mahamudra is often presented as this ultimate path. But its definition, even its history, it's surprisingly nuanced. So we'll be exploring what it is, why it matters, and maybe clearing up some common, misunderstandings that pop up.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The name itself, Mahamudra. It sounds significant. Where does that word come from? What's the literal meaning?
Right. So in Tibetan, it's Phyagyia Chenpo. People often say Chogyat Chenpo, or sometimes just Shugchen for short. The first part, Phyagrija, it has this really rich range of meanings. It can be a symbol, a gesture, like a hand sign, an attribute, or, and this is key, a seal, like an official seal you'd use to imprint something.
A seal. So like we're sealing something or maybe authenticating it. What exactly gets sealed?
Precisely. It refers to sealing the external world, all phenomena,
Right.
with their true reality. It also means identification. Think of it like the insignia that identifies a military rank. Here, it identifies the true nature, the underlying reality of both samsara, the cycle of suffering and existence, and nirvana, which is liberation from that cycle.
Wow. Identifying the core reality of everything.
Yeah.
That's big. And the Maha part, the Chenpo.
Chenpo just means great. And great here implies it's all-encompassing, like nothing remains outside this. Just like a king's seal covers all his subjects, this true reality contains both samsara and nirvana. There's a text, the Sutra Gaganaganji, that says this mudra is a seal of non-separateness. Something so fundamental, even deities can't remove it or really grasp it. And it's great because, the true nature of reality is boundless. It covers everything.
Okay, so a great, unshakable, all-encompassing seal of ultimate reality. Got it.
Mm-hmm. How do the texts break that down further? What are its components?
Good question. Different texts give us different layers. The Tantra of Mahamudra space, for instance, breaks down Phyagra de Chenpo like this. Phyag points to the non-separateness of emptiness and wisdom. They aren't two different things. Then Phrygia takes it further. It means going beyond just the idea of emptiness, beyond concepts. It also means not being conditioned by samsara, going beyond that conditioning. And Chenpo, the great part, emphasizes the unity of all this, the non-separateness. Even as the Master Matripa points out, the non-separateness of method and wisdom. So if I'm pulling this together, it seems Mahamudra points to a reality where things we normally separate, like wisdom and emptiness, are actually unified. And it's a reality that's beyond our usual concepts and conditioning. Is that the main takeaway here?
That's a very good way to put it, yes. A non-conceptual, unified understanding of what's real.
And this idea of it being all-encompassing, fundamental, does that connect to why it's sometimes called the mother of all Buddhas? I found that intriguing.
It does, absolutely. There's a commentary, The Lotus Endowed, on the Wheel of Time Tantra. It says Phyagarjya refers to Prajnaparamita. Now, Prajnaparamita is the personification of emptiness. And remember, emptiness here isn't nothingness. It's more like phenomena, lacking fixed, independent existence. They're empty of that self-nature we project onto them. She's the mother of all Buddhas because realizing emptiness is what gives birth to enlightenment. This also connects Phyagarjya to the union of emptiness and bliss. Then Chenpo, great, means Mahamudra surpasses other, maybe more specific, mudras like karma mudra, which often involves physical actions or symbols, because Mahamudra itself is free from all those samsaric complexities.
So it's this liberating reality, the very source of becoming enlightened. Are there other terms or synonyms the text use that might help us get a better handle on it?
Oh, definitely. Masters like Indra Bodhi called Mahamudra the absolute, the highest wisdom, even Samantabhadra, who represents the primordial Buddha nature. It's also simply called the Great Seal and Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is like the truth body of a Buddha ultimate reality itself, unmanifested. Other texts equate it with absence of independent existence, true nature, Dharmatatu, which is the realm of ultimate reality, identity of all phenomena, and ultimate truth. Fundamentally, it's really synonymous with Buddha nature, the mind's inherent clarity, its undefiled, luminous core.
Okay, if Mahamudra is all of that, where does it actually reside? What's its essence, fundamentally?
Indra Bodhi put it nicely. All-encompassing and devoid of characteristics, like space, not located in any one place. It's everywhere and nowhere specific. Maitripa gives this beautiful analogy. He says it's a state of unity beyond conceptual categories, yet maintaining clarity and transparency, like the moon's reflection in water. You can see it clearly, it's undeniably there, but it has no definite substance you can grab onto. It's an experience that, as he says, cannot be expressed in words, like a mute person trying to describe a dream.
Wow, the moon's reflection. That really captures the subtlety, doesn't it? It's present, but not graspable in the usual way.
Yeah, so.
So how do we actually engage with something like that? How does one practice Mahamudra?
Right, that's the crucial next step. The practice is usually laid out in 3 stages. First, there's what's called basis Mahamudra. This is our starting point, our inherent Buddha nature. The true reality that's pure right from the beginning. It's not divided into subject and object. It's beyond concepts. Our original state of purity, you could say.
Okay, so it's already there, inherently.
Exactly. Then comes Path Mahamudra. This is the journey. It involves listening to the teachings, really contemplating them, thinking them through, and of course, meditation. Through these practices, you start to directly realize that everything, all of samsara, all of nirvana, it all exists within this single unified reality. Path Mahamudra is about clearing away the subtle gunk, the defilements, and achieving what they call a transient state of purity.
So uncovering what's already there.
Precisely. And finally, there's fruition Mahamudra. This is the ultimate result. Perfecting both kinds of purity, the original purity that was always there, and the transient purity gained through the path. All obscurations gone. Texts like the Uttara Tantra even talk about different levels of beings depending on how much they grasp this basis. Mahamudra, those still obscure, those who've achieved some purity, and then Buddhas, completely free of obscurations.
That makes sense, a clear progression. Now, what are those other mudras you touched on earlier, like Karma Mudra? How do they relate to this big picture of Mahamudra?
Good point. The Samvara Manifestation Tantra connects Mahamudra with Samadhi, that focused meditative state, and wisdom, seeing them as aspects of emptiness. And Indra Bodhi, he outlines a kind of progressive path using 4 stages. Karma Mudra, which can involve ritual actions or gestures. Sama Mudra, related to vows or commitments. Jnana Mudra, the wisdom mudra. And Dharma Mudra, the mudra of ultimate truth. And all these culminate in Mahamudra. The idea is when you realize that everything arising in your mind is just like reflections in a mirror, apparent, but not inherently real, you begin to understand deeper truths, like the 5 wisdoms and the nature of Buddhahood.
Okay, so understanding Mahamudra seems incredibly profound. But why should someone, really invest in understanding it? What are the actual benefits, the practical implications?
Now we get to the why. And this is where the text makes some really strong claims. They basically state that if you don't understand how to practice Mahamudra meditation specifically, you cannot achieve ultimate liberation, no matter how skilled you become in other spiritual methods.
Wow. That's a very bold statement. It's presented as essential, non-negotiable almost. Are there counter-arguments within Buddhism, or is this view quite specific to the Mahamudra lineage?
Within its own lineage, that emphasis is certainly very strong. It's presented as the direct route. And conversely, if you do understand Mahamudra, the texts say it will help you understand absolutely everything. The Tantra of Mahamudra space suggests that while other practices can lead towards enlightenment, they might not make you a yogin in the deepest sense, implying Mahamudra offers a unique, more complete kind of realization. It really asserts that realizing the true nature of things as emptiness, which is Mahamudra, leads directly to Buddhahood, to becoming a Vajrasattva, embodying that ultimate, unwavering reality.
So it's positioned not just as one path, but maybe the direct path to a particular kind of ultimate insight.
That's the claim, yes. The explanation of bodhicitta and bodhicitta is that crucial motivation to attain enlightenment for all beings puts it starkly. People who have not realized emptiness will never attain liberation. And Maitripa adds that realizing Mahamudra allows you to see that both samsara and nirvana are contained within this single reality. That realization is the realization of the Dharmakaya, the truth body. Without it, you might get temporary relief, sure, but not true unconditioned freedom.
Okay, we've heard mudra used in different ways, gestures, this ultimate seal. Does it mean the same thing in the sutra context versus the tantra context? Is there a difference?
That's a really important distinction to make. It's not always the same, no. In the sutra teachings, mudra is used very broadly. For example, one text, the sutra requested by Sagarmati, talks about how all phenomena are sealed by the mudra of true reality and also by the mudra of equality. It even calls the purity of emptiness a seal, Just that one sutra lists 20 different kinds of mudras.
20. Okay, so it's a very flexible term in the sutras. What about in Tantra?
In the lower tantras, mudra often just refers to, ritual hand gestures or maybe symbolic items that deities hold in paintings or statues. In the higher tantras, the Uttara yoga tantras, it can get more specific, referring to 4 particular mudras, sometimes involving subtle energy practices. But the key point, really, for our listeners is that whether you're looking at sutra or tantra, Mahamudra specifically, the Great Seal, is ultimately pointing to Buddha nature, that clear, undefiled, luminous core of the mind.
Right. Mahamudra as the ultimate expression of that inherent nature. But given this diversity and the profound claims made for it, I can see how there'd be room for debate, maybe even confusion, especially when people try to compare it to other traditions.
Exactly. And that leads to the question, how does Mahamudra, especially in that higher tantric context, really differentiate itself? There has been historically quite a bit of discussion about even the number and order of those specific mudras. Some texts like the Wheel of Time Tantra mention 3 key ones: karma, jnana, Mahamudra. Others, like the Vajramala, list 4: dharma, karma, samaya, Mahamudra. There isn't one single definitive list everyone agrees on, which shows the internal diversity.
And this lack of a totally fixed list, I suppose that's led to some misunderstandings or misinterpretations over time.
It seems so, yes. Some writers, for example, have incorrectly claimed there's this fixed list of 4: karma, dharma, samaya, Mahamudra, and that masters like Naropa and Maitripa strictly followed that exact sequence. But that actually contradicts what Naropa and Maitripa themselves taught. Both of them, after studying everything available, they sought out deeper teachings from masters like Tilopa and Shavaripa. And they attained enlightenment specifically through Mahamudra. They composed tons of these dohas, these spontaneous songs of realization, focusing exclusively on Mahamudra. That really suggests they saw it as having a unique power, a unique efficacy.
So in their experience, it wasn't just one step among others, but something uniquely potent.
That's certainly the implication. The Wheel of Time Tantra, again, describes Mahamudra as the union of wisdom and always perfect emptiness, leading to this unified taste of reality. And crucially, it talks about immutable bliss. Now, other practices like Karma Mudra or Jnana Mudra, they can bring bliss, absolutely. But that bliss is seen as conditioned. It arises because of certain actions or states. Mahamudra's bliss, though, sometimes called spontaneous bliss or co-emergent bliss, is described as unconditioned and immutable. It arises directly from the realization itself, from the practice of Mahamudra, not from external causes.
That difference, conditioned versus unconditioned bliss, feels really central. Okay, now what about comparing Mahamudra to other well-known traditions like Chinese Chan or Zen or Dzogchen? I've definitely heard people suggest they're basically the same thing, just different labels.
Right, and this is a major point of confusion that the texts address directly. The claim that Tibetan Mahamudra and, say, Chinese Mahasandhi, which is another name for Dzogchen, are identical except for terminology, is presented as a mistake. Mahasandhi, or Dzogchen, is seen as the pinnacle of tantric practice, rooted firmly in the tantric tradition. Chinese Chan, however, which was introduced into Tibet by figures like Hishang Mahayana, is based primarily on sutra teachings. So their sources and fundamental approaches are different. There's also no historical evidence that Dzogchen originated in China. So equating them, according to these sources, is a gross delusion.
Okay, fundamentally different paths, not just variations on a theme. So what were the key differences highlighted between Mahamudra and, say, Hishang Mahayana's version of Chan? What were the criticisms?
The sources we looked at, particularly drawing from critiques by figures like Kamalajala, point out several key divergences. First, there's the issue of virtuous actions and karma. Heshang's Chan apparently emphasized abandoning all thoughts, good or bad, to get liberated. Virtuous actions like generosity were seen as maybe for people with limited abilities. This was heavily criticized as rejecting the Bodhisattva vow, that core Mahayana motivation, and ignoring a crucial factor for enlightenment. Mahamudra, in contrast, argues that while realizing emptiness transcends conventional good and evil, you don't just abandon virtuous actions. Relative truth, interdependence, they were still vital.
So Mahamudra integrates ethical action, it doesn't discard it.
Exactly. Second, there's distinguishing wisdom. The Chan approach of just stopping mental activity was seen as hindering the development of sharp, discerning wisdom, the kind needed to really penetrate reality's nature. Mahamudra actively integrates both analytical insight meditation and calm abiding shamatha.
So it's not just about stopping thought, but about using the mind skillfully.
Right. Third, the meditation state itself. Haitian apparently viewed the simple absence of thoughts as the highest goal. Mahamudra, however, emphasizes mindfulness and vigilance right from the start. It's about actively working against dullness or mental wandering, states which Hishang's approach was accused of mistaking for the meditative essence. Mahamudra aims for a clear, lucid awareness in every moment, not some kind of blank, thoughtless state.
A very active awareness, then.
Very much so. And fourth, establishing the true view. Hishang's system didn't seem to emphasize the rigorous study, reflection, and meditation needed to really establish a correct understanding, a solid philosophical view of reality. Mahamudra considers this foundational understanding the root of dualistic thinking, seeing things as separate perceiver and perceived, and gaining an authentic, stable view of how things truly are.
It really sounds like Mahamudra demands this very engaged, discerning, and active approach, which is quite different from some popular ideas about just emptying the mind. Criticisms seem to arise when these distinctions aren't grasped.
That seems to be the case. And another misconception pops up regarding initiations. Some people claim that Mahamudra requires specific tantric empowerments, maybe the third or fourth initiation, to experience its unique bliss. The sources we read strongly refute this. They argue Mahamudra's bliss is unconditioned, remember. It arises from wisdom, from self-awareness, not from external actions or causes like an initiation ceremony.
Right, because the basis of Mahamudra, that Buddha nature, isn't something you get from an initiation. It's already there, needing recognition.
Exactly. If you could just get it through a ritual, the whole structure of Mahamudra's path and fruition, all the teachings of masters like Saraha, Tulopa, Naropa, Maitripa, they wouldn't make much sense. And just realizing emptiness through, say, logical analysis alone, breaking things down into their parts like the skandhas, form, feeling, perception, etc., while valuable, isn't considered the full realization of Mahamudra itself. Mahamudra is described as always perfect emptiness, a direct, non-analytical, lived experience that goes beyond intellectual understanding.
Wow. This deep dive has certainly shown that Mahamudra is way more than just a meditation technique. It's presented as this all-encompassing reality, the mind's natural state, a path to unconditioned bliss, ultimate freedom, and really distinct in its approach, especially when you clear away some of those comparisons and misconceptions.
Indeed. It really boils down to recognizing this inherent, undefiled reality that's already present in everything. And understanding that genuine realization isn't passive. It requires this precise integration of wisdom, compassion, and a very clear, very aware mind. It truly is a great seal on all existence, revealing its ultimate nature.
So what really stands out to you from all this today as you sit with these ideas, the distinctions, the essence of Mahamudra, maybe consider this. What if that ultimate truth, that natural state, isn't something out there to achieve? What if it's something to simply recognize right here, right now, luminous in every single moment? We definitely encourage you to continue your own deep dive.